Hi friends, and welcome to week 11 of Deeply Rooted. I'm glad that you are with us today. I'm here at a very special place in our family's life. We call it the climbing tree. Most days when the weather is good, you'll find our kids playing with other neighborhood kids right around here. And on many of those days when they aren't wrestling in the grass or riding their bikes or getting into some form of mischief, my son and his friend are climbing this tree, just spending time in it. And in our scripture lesson today, there's a tree, maybe one kind of like this, that plays a big role in an encounter that Jesus has as he's traveling from village to village. Now, everywhere Jesus went, a crowd would soon follow. This we know is true. People would come to get a glimpse of the guy who said he was the Messiah, and many would come in hopes that they could be healed of some infirmity or released from some form of bondage that they were experiencing in their lives. People came in hopes of a miracle. And in our scripture lesson for the week, we learned that Zacchaeus, the tax collector, wanted to see Jesus so badly that he was willing to forego any cultural norms about adult behavior to climb a tree just to see Jesus. We don't know if he wanted to get Jesus' attention. We don't really know if he was hoping for something in particular. We just know that he climbed a tree to get a glimpse of Jesus as he walked by with his disciples and with the crowd that was accompanying him. But in that moment, Jesus does notice Zacchaeus, and he asks him to come down. And in the conversation that ensues, Zacchaeus is offered a new lease on life. And what does he do in response? He first tries to make amends for any wrongs he had committed as a tax collector, which is a well and good thing, but he goes a step further to say that he is willing to go above and beyond any mistakes that he had made to really make reconciliation possible. And it seems that Jesus, in this moment of noticing and interacting with Zacchaeus, gives Zacchaeus an opportunity for a new chapter in his story, a new chapter of living in a more loving and generous way, a way of living in community. And through this encounter, Jesus shows us a depth of generosity and encouragement that is a model for all of us to consider. Later in the story, we find that Jesus ultimately decides to have a meal at Zacchaeus' home, much to the chagrin of the people who had a very negative view of the tax collector. But just imagine for a moment what that meal may have been like for Zacchaeus and his family. My bet is that food never tasted better. I bet that everything in Zacchaeus' life was illuminated by the possibility of a new lease on life because of the interaction that he had with Jesus and the opportunity he had to show generosity. And in our own lives, each of us can think about the different people that have helped shape us, the people who have helped tease the best out of us and who have helped shape and mold us into who we are. There are, of course, the parents that raise us. There are the teachers that share knowledge and wisdom with us. There are the coaches, the trainers, the instructors that want to help us perform at our absolute best. And of course, we have friends and family that love us despite our failings. And there are even coworkers, managers, and bosses that share wisdom with us so that we can be the best at our vocation. Friends, there are so many people that help us become who we should be. And our natural reaction for this should be to do the same for others, to help people find a divine spark in their lives so that they can be who they are truly called to be. And when we follow the way of Christ, our hearts and actions should be hearts of generosity and encouragement that impact the people around us. For Zacchaeus, the tax collector, it wasn't a health issue that kept him away from others. He wasn't possessed or ailing from some disease. It was his occupation. It was the societal issues surrounding his occupation. It was what that occupation required of him that kept him from fully expressing his goodness into the world. And it's entirely possible that up until that moment with Jesus, he wasn't expressing any goodness whatsoever in his life. The people really didn't care for him. But it was an encounter with Jesus that removed the barriers so that he could be who he was called to be and that he could re-enter into community. And so what if each of us were called to be like Jesus in this moment? To help tease out and remove the barriers in the way of people's lives so that they can be who God has called them to be loving, to be generous, to be kind. When we give people a chance, even someone who was as disliked and as disregarded as Zacchaeus, there's a really good chance that we will be pleasantly surprised at the possibilities. Throughout our lives, we can very easily dismiss and disregard the people we encounter without truly knowing the gifts, the graces, and the generosity that they are begging to show the world. And when we have hearts of generosity, we see what's possible in someone else's life, and we work step by step to pave a way for it to be realized. When we have hearts of encouragement, we seek to share our own wisdom and knowledge with the people around us so that they can be more of who they are supposed to be. And when we have lives that truly begin to reflect the life of Jesus, we find that two of the most precious resources in the world, our love and our time, are worth giving to people as much as humanly possible, as an act of kindness and generosity. And we do it not because we get anything out of it, but rather because we know it's what Jesus would do. And we rejoice in the possibility of more and more people living as Jesus taught. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Peace be with you. Take care, and God bless.